Welcome back to another episode of the That Struck Me podcast. And if you're new here, we have an episode released on the first Monday of every month. And the whole purpose of this podcast is helping us to live our best life. John 10:10 says that Jesus came to give us life and life more abundantly. So that's what this is all about. I want to bring an encouraging word to you, something that will have a positive impact on your life. And I just want this to be a sure source that you can come to, that you can get lifted up and encouraged. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And let's jump right into today's topic. Hearing God's voice can be a big subject. And I know for me personally, I've definitely asked the question of, does God still speak today? And if he does, how can I hear his voice? And I've been in the places where I may have asked, why won't God speak to me? Well, today I'm going to share with you one foolproof way that you can hear God's voice every single time. I remember when I was 16 or 17 and I was wanting to hear from God on what to do. And I'm asking him, God, speak to me, God, speak to me. And it seems like nothing was happening. It was just silence. So I took a quarter and I flipped it in the air. And I said, well, God, if it's yes, then it'll land on heads. If it's no, it'll land on tails. And I remember doing that a few times. And I thought, this can't be right. Like in my heart, I just sensed, this is probably not the right way. There is a better way to hear from God than just flipping that coin in the air. And I don't recommend doing that at all, because I know for one thing, you'll probably question yourself after you get that answer. You're like, is that really God? And it's just a much better way I'm going to share with you on how to hear God's voice, and it works every time. So I'm going to share with you this story, and let's have a little fun with this. So I'm going to share it with you and see if you can pick it up on what it is that is the foolproof way you can hear God's voice. So I remember, when I started this podcast, I basically decided I'm just going to do it. And basically meaning without any help from anyone. Maybe I ask one person or two people about it, but for the most part, I thought I'm just going to go do it. I'm just going to obey God. So I believe this was something that God was leading me to do. And then one day I was reading in Proverbs 15:22, and it says, plans go wrong for lack of counsel, but many advisors bring success. And that was something it stuck out to me so much. And I knew that God was saying that to me, that I needed to get some people in on this, people I trust, leadership, and ask them for their help and help me to get this podcast going. And so I did that. And I remember some of the ideas that I thought would be great. I remember sharing that, and they were terrible ideas. And I'm glad that I sought that counsel, because this podcast will probably look a whole lot different in a negative way. And so God spoke to me through that verse, but it came about from me reading the Bible. And so that is the foolproof way that you can hear God every single time, and that is reading the Bible. 2 Timothy 3:16 says, all scripture is God breathed and is useful for instruction, conviction, for correction, and for training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be complete, fully equipped for every good work. So all scripture is God breathed from Genesis to Revelation. And so anytime you read the Bible, you're going to hear from God, and something is going to stick out to you. So this podcast, we are all about the practical. I mean, I'm not going to just tell you something and then leave you without a way to get it going in your life. So here's the practical thing for you to get it going. You can start out by reading one chapter in the Bible every single day, just one chapter per day. I remember when I first heard this, and I heard a preacher, he would say it in almost every one of his sermons. And he would say collectively with the church, it was almost like a confession kind of thing. But he would say we would read our chapter every single day. And I remember when I first heard that, I thought, I'm not going to just read a chapter every day. I'm going to read more than one chapter. I'm going to read 3 or 4, And so my pride got in the way and everything. And at that time, I wasn't reading the Bible every single day. Every once in a while, maybe two or three times a week. I mean, I don't remember, but I was reading the Bible, but not every day. And so after a couple of weeks went by, and I started to realize, man, like if I had been reading a chapter every single day, like I could have read a ton of Bible. I could have read a whole bunch of books of the Bible. I want to encourage you to start with that, even tomorrow morning, to read a chapter in the Bible. You can start anywhere, but if you will read that chapter every day and come expectant and pray and ask God to speak to you, He will speak to you and it'll be tailor-made to your situation. Thank you guys so much for joining in on this podcast today. Until next time, peace out.